At a lonely desert gas station past midnight, a grizzled trucker walks in asking only for fuel and coffee. But when the attendant sees the burning raven tattoo on his arm, the same one her war hero father used to draw, she locks the doors. What unfolds next reveals a decades-old secret, an unbreakable promise, and a letter that will change her life forever. Some visitors bring more than stories. They bring closure. Hit like and comment where you're watching from. Your support brings more amazing stories. Now, let's begin. The wind carried dust across the cracked pavement as the neon lights of the station buzzed with a tired hum. It was just past midnight on Route 52, deep in the New Mexico desert, where silence pressed in like a second skin. Inside the station, Ellie leaned on the counter, half reading a weathered paperback, half watching the security monitor. Her auburn hair was pulled back loosely and the sleeves of her gray hoodie were pushed to her elbows. The night was quiet, too quiet. Then headlights pierced the darkness. She looked up as a dusty red Peterbilt 379 rolled into the lot, its engine hissing like a creature exhaling after a long hunt. It was a classic rig, beat up but well-kept, desert grime covering its sides, the kind of truck that had seen more roads than homes. It groaned to a stop beneath the flickering overhead lights. The driver's door creaked open. A man stepped down slowly, movements deliberate. He looked to be in his early 60s, tall, broad-shouldered, his skin like worn leather from years on the road. A black trucker cap shadowed his face, but even in that dim light, Ellie could see the fatigue in his deep-set blue eyes. He adjusted the collar of his brown flannel shirt beneath a dark navy jacket, then shut the door behind him without a glance back. Ellie straightened. Her fingers brushed the edge of the counter, alert now. Few truckers stopped here this late. Only the lost or the loners. The bell above the door gave a tired chime as he stepped inside. He didn't smile, didn't speak right away, just nodded once as if confirming something with himself. The desert air trailed in behind him, smelling of heat, dust, and distance. "Coffee," he said finally, his voice low and coarse. "And diesel, full tank." Ellie nodded without a word, and turned toward the pot behind her. Something about the way he stood, still grounded, not in a hurry, made her pulse lift slightly. She had seen tired men before, but this was different. This one carried silence like weight. He walked over to the counter slowly, pulling out his wallet. As he did, he reached into his coat and his right sleeve slid up just an inch. Ellie's heart skipped. There, inked in fading black and ash gray, was a tattoo, a raven, wings ablaze, perched atop a broken rifle. She stared. The image struck her like lightning. Her father had drawn that exact symbol in the margins of his journals, on napkins, on her school notebooks. He called it the fire raven, and he had taken it to the grave. Ellie forgot to breathe. The humming lights above flickered once, then steadied, and in that stillness, everything began to change. The sound of the old ceiling fan above creaked faintly as Ellie moved toward the coffee machine, her body working on autopilot. But her mind was elsewhere, fixed on that tattoo. She glanced over her shoulder. The man stood at the counter now, his wallet open, sorting through a few crumpled bills. His right forearm rested on the glass surface. The tattoo was clearer now, a black raven with wings stretched and set ablaze, talons clutching a broken rifle. The ink was faded, etched deep into skin that had weathered sun, war, and time. Ellie's hands trembled. She set the coffee cup down too hard. The crack of ceramic startled them both. "You all right?" he asked, his voice low, but steady. She swallowed, nodded too quickly, but her heart was pounding. She had seen that exact design 1,000 times. Not in real life, but in drawings, in the journals her father used to keep. In the messy sketches that littered their old garage. It was never explained, never talked about, just there, repeated, almost obsessively. She had asked once, "What's the fire raven?" Her father had looked up sharply, then closed the journal and changed the subject. After he died, Ellie thought it was just some wartime emblem, one of many. But now it was here on a stranger's arm, a stranger standing in her station at midnight. Her eyes didn't leave the tattoo. "You served?" she asked suddenly, her voice quieter than she meant it to be. The man looked up, his gaze met hers, sharp and assessing. "Long time ago," he said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a few more bills, laying them on the counter. Ly didn't look at the money, her gaze dropped back to his arm. "I've seen that symbol before," she whispered. He stiffened. "Not much. Just a slight shift, like a man preparing for something." His hand moved subtly, fingers brushing the edge of his coat. Not threatening, not aggressive, just aware. Ellie realized she was holding her breath. The air in the station suddenly felt tighter, heavier. She stepped out from behind the counter. "I think you knew my father." The words came out before she could stop them.
He said nothing.
His name was James Holloway, she said.
The moment stretched.
The man's face changed. Not in any dramatic way, just stillness. A hard pause, as if the world itself had hit a speed bump and refused to move forward. He looked away for a second, then slowly, deliberately, he rolled his sleeve back down, covering the tattoo. "I knew him," he said. A silence followed, thick as dust. Then he added quietly, "He was the first one in and the last one out until me." Ellie stood frozen. The station's silence had deepened, like even the wind outside was listening. The man across from her, this quiet, weathered stranger, had just spoken her father's name like a final chord in a song she thought no one else remembered. He had known him, not just in passing, but enough to say he was the last one out until me. She felt a tremor run down her spine. Her legs moved before she could fully think. She walked slowly toward the front doors. The motion startled neither of them, but her intent became clear when her hand hovered over the bolt. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. Locking the door felt absurd, maybe dangerous, maybe rude. But something inside her said she had to do it, not out of fear, but to contain something sacred, something forgotten and now suddenly alive. Her fingers gripped the lock. Click! The metal bolt. Chest, but she kept her voice steady. "That tattoo," she said, "where did you get it?" He looked at her for a long moment, then exhaled through his nose like a man too tired to lie. "Long time ago," he said. "Different life. My father had it, too," she replied. He called it the Fire Raven. That name landed between them like a ghost rising from the floor. For the first time, the man's features cracked. His eyes shifted heavier now. Not just tired, but haunted. "What's your name?" Mino asked. "Ellie," she said. "Ellie Holloway." He closed his eyes just for a second, like someone whose worst memory had finally stepped through the door. He opened them slowly. Something in his posture lowered. Not weakness, just the weight of something long carried. "James," he said almost like a prayer. "He saved my life." Ellie stepped closer, barely breathing. "He never talked about what happened," she said. "Only that he lost something in the desert." The man nodded, once solemn. "He lost everything." Outside, the wind stirred, lifting a swirl of sand under the humming floodlights. Inside, the past had finally arrived, and Ellie was standing in its center. For a moment, neither of them moved. Ellie stood just a few feet away, her green eyes locked onto the man like she was still trying to confirm he was real. Her father's name still lingered in the air. And so did the name of that tattoo. The Fire Raven. "I thought no one else knew," she whispered. "He never told anyone. Not even my mother. Just me." Once the man nodded slowly. That was his way. His eyes dropped to the counter. Callahan, though he had not spoken his name yet, reached slowly into his navy jacket. This time Ellie watched without fear. He pulled out a small worn envelope. The paper was yellowed and creased. The corners bent from years of handling. No address, no stamp, just a name in faded ink. "Ellie." He placed it gently on the counter between them. "He gave it to me the night he died," Callahan said, voice low, far away. "Told me not to go looking. Just wait. And if I ever found you, to give you this." Ellie stared at it. Her fingers hovered above the envelope, but did not touch. She could feel her pulse in her fingertips. "I carried it for over 20 years, he added. "Stopped in towns named Holloway. Checked registries. Never said more than I had to." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why now?" "Wasn't planning to stop," he said. "Trucks running rough. I saw the lights. I just pulled in. Like fate had chosen this gas. Fully over the ridge, bathing the desert in gold." The dusty Peterbuilt gleamed beneath it, as if standing at attention. Two silhouettes inside the diner window remained still, one marked by the past, the other rising into it. Some debts can never be repaid, but they can be passed forward.